Let us. So, today we are going to discuss the topic microscopy and staining techniques. This topic you have to revise because anyhow I am recording this presentation, right? So whenever you get time before exam, you have to revise because it is a bit tough topic for you to understand in second year. So you have to spend more time reading it, revising it, and discussing with your friends, right? So the topic is microscopy and staining techniques. So I will tell you in brief about the microscope and then what are its staining techniques. Especially staining techniques, you should know the applications where all it can be used to stain. What all staining techniques are there and microscopy and again 2 o'clock we will have lab session where I will explain to you in detail about binocular microscope in the lab session, right? So we are back to back now 2 hours, right? So my name is Dr. Shankar Patil. I am an associate professor here. I have done my bachelor's and master's degree from India and PhD from University of Siena, Italy. Then I am a fellow of Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons, UK, Glasgow, basically. And then I am a fellow of International College of Dentists and a fellow of Perry Fauchard Academy, USA. So these are my degrees and fellowships. And latest I have been conferred with the one more fellowship from London, most prestigious fellowship called Fellow of Royal College of Pathology, right? And its patron is Queen Elizabeth. So it is a very important fellowship FRC path. Why? Because very few oral pathologists have been conferred with that fellowship, and they see whenever they are giving any big fellowship, they see your research profile, right? So your research and publications. So that is what they see. So that was, and I am a faculty in the Department of Oral and Maxillofacial Pathology in College of Dentistry, Jazan University. So this time, the oral path department has been assigned with taking the lectures for oral for this histology. Actually, otherwise the medical school people have to take. But since students were finding a lot of problem, so they, with the medical faculty, they have given this topic to us, right? I hope things are clear. And I am from India, and I am from a place called Bangalore, which is southern part of India. Bangalore is called the Silicon Valley of India. It is has lot of software companies and it has lot of medical hospitals. So there is a lot of medical tourism in Bangalore. Many people from Middle East and other parts of the globe come to Bangalore for treatment, especially treatment. They have any systemic diseases or problems, surgery. Especially many people come because we have lot of hospitals and software industry, right? So they we have software industry. Lot of software industries are there uh, for this particular Bangalore because that is why it is called Silicon Valley of India. So that was the brief introduction about me and intended learning outcome of this. And you all are all welcome to visit Bangalore or India, Kerala, Bangalore, any places, North India, South India, and you can see the Taj Mahal also, right? So intended learning outcome of this lecture is to enlist the common types of microscope. You should know the names. What are the microscope? You should understand the terminologies, its principles, and you should know the types and differences between microscopes and to enumerate their applications where you can use this microscope and to enlist the staining techniques and their mechanism and use. So lastly, I will tell you about the staining technique. So it is a big lecture. I may go a bit fast. Why? Because I have to finish it in 1 hour, but my recording will be there and you can listen to it anytime you can understand the topic, right? We will ask you very simple questions in exam. You need not worry about that. What is the purpose of a microscope? To visualize objects, because some objects, some our eye can see, but some cannot be seen. That is why we use microscope. Why? And the microscope is derived from the Greek word micros, means small, scopen means to see. So that is the way it is regarding the microscope. So it is a what you cannot see with your naked eye, you can see through the microscope. So history, Hans and Jensen of Holland in 1590s created the first compound microscope. So what we use in the laboratory today in our dental school is a compound microscope. So Hans and Jensen from Holland in that too in 1590. Now we are in 2020. See, almost 400 years, right? 420 years microscope was invented. And Anthony van Leeuwenhoek and Robert Cook made improvements by working on the lenses, right? So there are the pictures of the first microscope and the Hooke microscope, how modifications came into picture. This is a brief history. So we can ask in exam, who was the first person to create the compound microscope? The answer should be Hans and Janssen. So we need to magnify. What is the purpose of visualizing the structures of body tissue? Why you want to enlarge and see small things? Because structure is closely related to function and much can be deduced about the function of cells and tissues by careful examination of their component parts. So these tissues what are there, you cannot see with your naked eye. So if you want to see the vermilion border, gingiva, right, skeletal muscle, how the internal arrangement, so, how the internal arrangement is there within the cellular and tissue components. So, there we need the help of the microscope, right, to enlarge and see something in the tissue. So, what are the major types of microscope? We have two: light microscope and electron microscope. Light microscope uses visible light as their radiation. So what we are going to show you in the lab in the or whatever we have in the college is a light microscope. It is also called as compound microscope, uses visible light as their radiation. And electron microscope uses electron beam wavelength. We need this lecture means, what do you mean by we need this lecture? Yes, it is important, and these questions can be asked for exam. So, right? So, what are the, we can ask in exam, what are the major types of microscope? There are two: light microscope, electron microscope. These are the two major types. And light microscopes uses visible light. The electron microscope uses electron beam wavelength. Yes, the slides. Which slides you are talking about? See, that you have to read and you have to know about everything, whatever is there in the PowerPoint presentation, right? So we may ask, electron microscope uses what? Electron beam wavelength. Light microscope uses visible light as their radiation. Every slide, whatever is focused here is important. Okay, is there any difference in the image obtained between light microscope and electron microscope? Yes, they differ in optical resolution and available magnification, right? So, what is the, we may ask, what is the difference between in exam image obtained between light and electron microscope? The difference is in optical resolution and available magnification, because light microscope there is a certain minimum magnification. Light microscope has its own limitation, but the electron microscope you can magnify to whatever size you want and you can visualize. So electron microscope has a lot of optical resolution and available magnification. So I will upload all the this class after the today evening. I will upload it. So don't worry. Next slide is what is the difference in resolution between light and electron microscope. Now listen to the lecture. Rest all about discussing at the end. You can ask any questions you want. At this lecture, I will upload on the Blackboard so you can download and read. So don't worry. Everything will be provided to you. The resolution available from a see now if I start using LM, EM means LM is microscope, EM is electron microscope. Right. So from here I will use only the short form. LM means light microscope and EM is electron microscope. So the resolution available from a conventional light microscope is only 0.2 micrometer. Right. So thus at distances of less than 0.2 micrometer, objects that are usually separate from one another will appear to merge. So in light microscope, what is the, we can ask in exam, in light microscope, what is the resolution level? 0.2 micrometer, right? In electron microscope, it is 1 nanometer. So that the resolving power is 200 better than light microscope. So how far is the electron microscope better than the light microscope? Is 200 times more. So here in this slide, what you have to remember is the resolution available of light microscope is 2 micrometer and for electron microscope is 1 nanometer. 100-fold better than electron microscope. If you remember this much is enough. Don't go in too much of detail. What is important, I will tell you. Listen. Now you see with eye, what you can see here. With eye, you can see the height of a 5-year-old child, width of a hand, width of finger. But in light microscope, you will see thickness of human skin, size of red blood cell, or size of a bacterium. You can see. But in electron microscope, you can see size of a virus particle, size of a DNA molecule, size of a glucose molecule and atom. So nowadays, COVID-19, when it was first found in December, January, immediately they saw its structure under the electron microscope. So electron microscope is anytime better. But for undergraduation, if you know about light microscope is more than enough. And what is the difference between light and electron? We don't have electron microscope. So virus particle, when COVID-19 came, it was first discovered, novel coronavirus in December, Jan, immediately they saw its structure in the electron microscope and they came to know it has spikes and all the structure they gave. How? Through electron microscope only. So electron microscope, it can expand 200 times than the light microscope. The maximum available length is limited to about 1000 in most student light microscope. So available magnification is about 1000, but in electron microscope it is almost 100-fold. That means 100,000 times you can magnify, and you can also see the cell and tissue ultrastructure. Means if you want to see Golgi complex, if you want to see mitochondria, cellular organelles, if you want to see everything, you can see under electron microscope. So type of microscope, maximum resolution and the best effective magnification that can be achieved. So light microscope 200 nm is the maximum resolution, but in but best effective magnification can be achieved into 1400. Transmission electron microscope 0.1 nm, magnification is 500,000. Scaling electron microscope is 20 nm and magnification available is 250,000. So there are different types of electron microscope: transmission electron microscope and scanning electron microscope. These are the two major types of electron microscope. So first let us discuss about light microscope, and light microscope I will discuss in the lab session also today. Light microscope, we can observe large areas of a specimen, usually several square centimeter, right? About the parts of the microscope I will teach you in the lab, so don't go into that. And a wide range of staining methods are available for light microscope, permitting identification of cell and tissue features. So after the microscope, I will tell you about staining techniques. So light microscopes we can stain different tissues and we can see under the light microscope. The most common stain used is hematoxylin and eosin stain. So any tissue you can stain and you can see under the light microscope. Many of these stains are polychromatic, that is, they produce multiple colors in the specimen component. So there are different stains with different colors, but most common is hematoxylin and eosin stain, and hematoxylin is usually blue in color and eosin red or pink in color. So that is why there is a contrast. You can see and appreciate the cellular architecture properly. Right, electron microscope, there are two types of electrons, scanning electron microscope and transmission. If you remember the name, more than enough. In exam, we can ask, what are the two types of electron microscope? In quiz, if you write scanning electron microscope, transmission electron microscope, it's more than enough, because we don't want to, at undergraduation level, especially in second year, we don't want you to go very deep. Just know the basics. That is very important. And scaling electron microscope produces 3D images, three-dimensional images, but are restricted to the surface of the object with the internal structure concealed from view. So its scanning electron microscope produces only 3D images. So you can see the hard dental samples, soft brain tissue, cells, all you can see, right? So don't go very deep. All superficial idea. What is the purpose of a transmission electron microscope? Because the transmission electron microscope is so named because the electron beam must pass through the specimen to form an image. So it has to pass through the specimen and it forms the image. That is why it is called transmission. Means it is passing through the body of the specimen, and to achieve this, ultra thin sections are used. So the sections what you cut with a microtome should be very thin, 50 to 100 nm. Then only the rays will pass through the tissue and you can get an image. The thin sections are stained by heavy metals such as uranium and lead salts. So the thin sections what you cut are stained with heavy metals such as uranium and lead salts, and then when it passes through, then only it will produce the image. So this is transmission, means it has to transmit. The heavy metals bind to cell and tissue components to varying degrees. So if you see on the right hand side, there is an image where it is showing the arrangement of a cell. The structure will appear dark gray or black, right? It is said to be electron dense. So this is the, or sometimes lighter gray also you will see. So this is the color what you see. And how you interpret electron microscope? In interpreting electron microscope, one important point you have to remember is you should know the size, right? So usually structure such as intermediate filaments is 10 nm in diameter and microtubules 20 to 25 nm in diameter, but hollow. Like that, no, they will first common the size you have to know. What are the each organelle of the cell? What are what size they are? You should have an idea, right? Then see here. Then you mark mitochondria, nucleus, vesicle, peroxisome, heterochromatin. So this it will give a clear picture of each of the organelles. So first you should know the size, and then you should know how to mark it, right? So the next step is to actively look for the unique set of features. First, you should know the size. Okay, mitochondria is of this size, nucleus is of this size. Okay, then for example, only mitochondria and nucleus possess a double membrane, and mitochondria, the inner surface of these two membrane, is thrown into highly characteristic folds. So first, you should know the size of the organelles, and then you should know the architecture, how these organelles look. So this is the way you should identify the features in electron microscope. And we don't have this electron microscope, but you should have an idea, right? So one major group of specific method to identify, okay, one major group to identify is by histochemical technique, right? So this histochemical techniques employs reagents known to react with defined cellular constituents. So you should the special methods for light microscope and electron microscope is the histochemical techniques. It is a subset known as enzyme histochemistry. The activity of enzymes can be demonstrated by staining, right? This is the point I would like to make. Then immunohistochemistry also, because immunohistochemistry means these are commercially available antibodies will be available. You stain it and you see both under the light microscope and electron microscope. So this is the immunohistochemistry schematics. You need not go into much detail because you are in second year. You should have an idea that even when immunohistochemistry is done on the tissue, you can see through light and electron microscope. That's it. And in light microscope, most tissues are too thick to be examined directly in the microscope, but therefore it must be cut into thin section. To facilitate the cutting of thin sections, what you do, we will any tissue what you remove from the body, right? Well, any tissue removed from the live person is called biopsy. If the same tissue is removed from the dead person, it is called autopsy. So what we do is we take the tissue, we dehydrate the tissue, right? We fix the tissue first in formalin, we dehydrate the tissue, we embed the tissue in wax, then we section and cut and stain the tissue, and then we see under the microscope. Why you should know the methodology? Because whenever a tissue is cut from the body, right, it is called biopsy. This tissue is immediately put in formalin, 10% formalin, that is called fixation. And from there, what you do is we, after fixing the tissue, what we do is we process the tissue, right? That is called processing. We dehydrate the tissue, right? And then we embed the tissue in wax, and then we cut with the help of microtome, and then we stain and see under the microscope. So tissue processing, first I have told you, once you cut, it is called biopsy, then fix it, then dehydrate it, then clear it, infiltrate it, and then embed in the wax block. This whole process is called tissue processing. And I am again telling you, don't go very deep. At least if you have superficial knowledge, it's more than important in your second year. Constraints in light and electron microscope, a problem common both to light and constraints means difficulties, is the need to prevent autolytic degeneration and preserve cellular architecture. So whenever you cut the tissue, you have to fix it. So light microscope specimens are usually fixed in formaldehyde, I have told. And electron microscope specimens, if you want to see under the electron microscope, they are usually fixed in glutaraldehyde. So we may ask in exam, which is the fixative for light microscope? It is formaldehyde or 10% formalin. And what is the fixative for electron microscope? It is glutaraldehyde. So we have to preserve the architecture of the tissue. So to preserve the architecture of the tissue, we have to fix it. Otherwise, it will cause autolysis and it will destroy the tissue. If you know that much, it's enough. So you have to fix, and then you have to cut into thin section for histochemistry, right? And sometimes frozen sections I use. Frozen sections means sometimes you need immediately, suppose you are doing a surgery of a cancer on the patient and you don't know how far the cancer, how far is the tumor size. So what you do, you immediately want to know how far I should cut the tissue. So that time they do frozen section. Frozen section means immediately they freeze the tissue and they see under the microscope, and they will come to know whether the tumor has been completely cut or they are still pending. So, and there are different types of light microscopes. Different types of light microscopes, you should know the names only. Phase contrast microscope, interference contrast, and confocal microscopy. So we may ask in exam, which are the different types of light microscope? Phase contrast microscope, interference contrast, and confocal microscopy. If you write, you will get full marks. So we will ask you very simple questions. Now, what is phase contrast microscopy? Phase contrast means it has to be in contrast, then only you can see under the microscope. Is an optical illumination technique in which small phase shifts in the light passing through a transparent specimen and converted into amplitude or contrast changes in the images. So you see the background, it looks more yellow, and the cells, what you see, bacterial spores, what are there? They look little greenish or bluish or blackish in color. So this is called contrast, because background it is yellow and the bacteria are looking in a very different color. That means in contrast to the background. That is why it is called phase contrast microscope. Confocal microscope creates sharp image of a specimen that would otherwise appear blurred. So confocal means it creates sharp laser edge. So whenever you are watching a movie or when you go to cinema halls, there has to be solid contrast. Then only you can enjoy the movie. Achieved by excluding light that is not from the microscope's focal plane. So confocal microscopy, what you should know, we want why it is used, because we want to produce sharp image of a specimen. If you remember this, it's more than enough. See here, if you see wide field and confocal, these are different types, right? So these are the different types of confocal microscope, that is wide field and confocal. And fluorescence microscope, you should know fluorescence. Fluorescence microscope means we usually use for skin lesions. Skin lesions cannot be fixed in formalin. So we have to, if you want to see any skin related lesions, means vesiculobullous lesion, means the lesions which are present on the skin, dermal lesions, and on the oral mucous membrane. So these are called mucocutaneous lesions. So here dyes. So we may ask in exam, in fluorescent microscope what we use? We use fluorescent dyes. If you know, remember this much, it's more than enough. Why? Because it produces fluorescence. So this is, see, fluorescent microscope. Beautifully, see the background, it's black. So, and the green color is the fluorescence. The cells what you are seeing is, see, green color cells, and at the center you will see blue nuclei, right? So this is fluorescent microscope. What is better, light microscope or electron microscope? If you want superior resolution and magnification, obviously it is the electron microscope. Very good, excellent. Yet in some aspects, electron microscope is less flexible than light microscope. For example, the available area in electron microscope specimen is generally less than 1 square millimeter. See, in light microscope, you can see up till 2 square centimeter, right? But here you can see 1 square millimeter only, very small specimen you will see, and few staining methods are available for electron microscope. That is why they produce only monochromatic images. Monochromatic images means black and white, whereas light microscope produces colorful images, but electron microscope mostly black and white images, and the specimen used is only 1 square millimeter. But in light microscope you can use up till 1 square centimeter. And electron microscope is also costly and time consuming. This is very important. Costly and time consuming. Why? Because costly, no, I don't think Jazan has electron microscope, the entire Jazan area, right? And if it is there also, it will be very costly. And what we show and focus these slides for you is all light microscope. So you should know more about light microscope. Electron microscope, when you do PhD, when you do higher education, that time you can see staining techniques. Maybe if the medical college has, see and come once, okay? But purpose they use, because for electron microscope usually they use for research purpose. If you want to see ultrastructure, maybe of the virus and bacteria, so that time we use. Now that was about microscope. Now we are talking about staining technique. I have told you in light microscopy we use different staining techniques because light microscopy is colorful. Can you make this light smaller? See, this system is blackboard. So I don't know if I go to do something, the lecture only may pretend. Now I'll give you the slides. Don't worry about that. It will be uploaded in blackboard today only. Right? Hematoxylin and eosin. So hematoxylin and eosin, every page I will give right from the first to last. Don't worry. Everything I will give and I will share, and it is being recorded also. Relax. So hematoxylin and eosin is the most common used technique in animal histology and routine pathology. So I am a pathologist. So we use hematoxylin and eosin stains, right? The basic dye is hematoxylin. It will stain blue or purple. So basic dye hematoxylin stains acidic structures as blue or purple. And nuclear ribosomes and rough endoplasmic reticulum have strong affinity for this dye owing to the high content of DNA and RNA respectively. So basic dye in exam we will ask in which is the basic dye in hematoxylin eosin stain. You should know the name hematoxylin, and it stains acidic structures and it is purplish blue. Since it is a basic dye, it will stain acidic structures and it will stain the nuclei, ribosomes and rough endoplasmic reticulum also. So it has a strong affinity for this dye. So it will stain the hematoxylin and eosin stain. The hematoxylin is a basic dye, right? So it will stain acidic structures and it is blue in color. In contrast, eosin is an acidic dye which stains basic structures. So you should know it is just the most cytoplasm pinkish red. So eosin means it stains pink or pinkish red. It is an acidic dye. It stains basic structures. Hematoxylin is a basic dye which stains acidic structure. If you remember this much, more than enough. An HND staining technique, that is hematoxylin staining technique, is used for animal cells, nuclei, everything. Periodic acid stain, all applications you should know, nothing more than that. Periodic acid shift stain, where it is used, is invaluable for the understanding of cell and structure and function and diagnosis of diseases. If you know this much, more than enough. And what color it produces? Deep red color. Each stain you should know what color they produce and for what it is used. Okay, if you know this much, in second year, more than enough. Very, very easy and simple. It stains deep red color and where it is used to understand the structure and function. That much if you know, more than enough. Right? So you should know. And where they use it, basement membrane and brushed border of kidney tubules if they want to see. Applications, small and large intestine if they want to see, cartilage, collagen if to see, they use this periodic acid shift stain. Uses, that is the application. Next is Mason Racombe stain. It is called connective tissue technique, right? Why? It principally stains collagen. So what it stains? Collagen. So it has nuclei. Collagen is stained green in color. You see the slide on the right side below. It is usually stained green or blue, depending on the technique used. Right? That much if you know which color it produces, it's more than enough. We don't want you to do PhD here. Alcian blue is again in conjunction with other stains, means in combination with to stain certain types of mucin. But not all are stained blue by the Alcian blue method, as is cartilage. So usually cartilage they use this Alcian blue stain. If you see on the right side the image, see how blue color you will see. And when it combines with Van Gieson stain, it becomes green. That we are not interested. we are interested what areas it will stain. That is where its application is. Now next is Van Gieson stain. See, this is another connective tissue stain which appears red. So you should know which color it produces. Red. Nuclei are blue and erythrocytes and cytoplasm are yellow. So the staining technique. So this staining technique is particularly useful for blood vessels and skin. So where we see the staining technique is particularly used for Van Gieson. We may ask in exam, where is Van Gieson stain used? To stain blood vessels and skin. If you know this much, you will get full out of out marks. Next, reticulin stain. This method demonstrates reticulum fibers of supporting tissue which are stained blue-black by the technique. See, if you see blue-black, you will see nuclei may be counter-stained blue with hematoxylin red. So the method demonstrates reticulin fibers. If if you want to see reticulin fibers, then you have to see reticulin stain we have to use. If you know this much, it's more than enough. Next is Azan. Is traditionally classic connective tissue method. Is excellent for demonstrating fine cytological detail, especially in the epithelium. And it is stained bright red. So we may ask, what is the color of Azan? Bright red. Collagen basement membrane and mucin are stained blue. Muscle and red blood cells are stained orange to red. So what is its application? Muscle and red blood cells are stained red and collagen basement membrane and mucin are stained blue. If you know this much, it's more than enough. This is Azan. So these are the different staining techniques. Why they have created so many stains? To stain different particular parts and see. That is the only reason. And this is Jimsa. Jimsa is a standard method for staining blood cells. So if you want to stain blood cells, we may ask in exam, what are these? Which is the stain used for staining blood vessels? Your answer should be Jimsa. If you know this much, more than enough. Nuclei, it will stain dark blue to violet and pale blue, and erythrocytes pale pink. So this much if you know, it's more than enough. Just the application, where it's what it stains and its application. Toluidine blue means it is blue. We may ask in exam, where toluidine blue is used. It will differentially stain tissues, right? And if you want any higher resolution, where if you want to investigate the glomerulus in health and disease, as well as higher resolution light microscopy of nerves, if you want to see, there we use. And the dye also stains mast cells reddish purple in paraffin section, a property called metachromasia. So you should know its use. That is more than enough for your second year. This is Goldner's trichrome stain. Okay, this method is applied to acrylic resin section. If you want to differentiate between undecalcified bone to calcified or mineralized bone, if you want to see, we may ask which type of stain is, what is the name of the stain to distinguish uncalcified bone with mineralized bone and unmineralized osteoid. If you want to differentiate between mineralized and unmineralized content, we will use Goldner's trichrome stain. And there is one more stain called Von Cossa stain that also is used to differentiate between mineralized and unmineralized tissue, bone. Next is silver and gold method, right? Depending on the method used, the end product is black, brown or golden. So it produces what color in exam will ask? Your answer should be black, brown or golden. The methods are extremely popular in the 19th century. So they demonstrate fine structure as cell processes, especially neurons, motor end plates and intercellular structures. So we may ask, which structure usually silver and gold method stain? Your answer should be neurons and motor end plate. And what color it shows? Black, brown or golden color. If you know this much, more than enough. Don't go very deep. No, have a superficial. Nissl and Meitner methods, methylene blue methods. So these techniques use a basic dye to stain the rough endoplasmic reticulum found in neurons, and this is seen as clumps. It is called Nissl substance. So Nissl and methylene blue method. Where it is used, if we can ask only that you should know it is used to stain rough endoplasmic reticulum in neurons. If you know this much, it's more than enough for us. Sudan black and osmium. Sudan black and osmium means it is black in color, that everyone knows. These dyes stain lipid containing structures such as myelin, a brownish black color. So where it is used to stain myelin, and what color it produces? Brownish black color. Osmium, it provides contrast, right? This much if you know, it's more than enough. Why osmium is used? To provide contrast. And why Sudan black? Which color it gives? Black color for light microscopy, and it stains myelin. So this is more than enough for you to know. And immunohistochemical techniques, you need not know much about this, but only thing is what this immunohistochemical technique, why we use when we don't know the origin of the tumor, whether a tumor is from muscle, bone, nerve, blood vessels. That time when you are in confusion, we use this immunohistological technique, right? So your tissue is an antigen, and commercially available antibodies are available. Usually we import from America. Commercially available antibodies and antigens are there, which antigens are present on this slide. That is the tissue, and we stain with antibody. That's it. It's called immunohistochemistry. So you need not know much about this. Only you should know immunohistochemistry means antigen and antibody is used there for immunohistochemistry. If you know this much, more than enough. More than that, and what they use is enzyme commonly used for this purpose is horseradish peroxidase, and the technique is then called immunoperoxidase technique. But in exam, if I ask, I'll ask immunohistochemistry. The interaction is between what and what? It is between antigen antibody. If you know this much, more than enough. And immunohistochemistry can also be used in light microscopy also, we can see, because when you stain with immunohistochemistry, you will get brown color product. So, and this brown color product stain you will see in electron microscopy as well as light microscopy. So this was the theory class of today, right? So first we discussed about electron light microscope. What we teach here is pure light microscope or compound microscope. Now in the 2 o'clock session, I will teach you about the parts of the light microscope. If you know that much, more than enough. And this topic also, please don't go very deep. Very superficial and easy questions will be asked. Very superficial, and I will upload the PPT on Blackboard today evening, and you can download and you can read. And very superficial, don't go very deep. I'm not going to ask you any difficult questions, very easy questions, because I know you are just come to second year, and I know your difficulty because even I was a student before, so I know what difficulty students face, and so I will only ask very superficial questions if you know more than enough. And you should know what is light microscope, what is electron microscope, what is the difference between light and electron microscope. And in college what we use is light compound microscope. And don't think that electron microscope means electron microscope we use electric current, that's why it is called electron microscope. No, it is very much wrong. So electron microscope, you have two types: scanning electron microscope, transmission electron microscope. And you should know in scanning in electron microscope only 1 square millimeter you can tissue you can use, but in light microscope up till 2 square centimeter you can use. And electron microscope will produce only black and white images, but light microscope you can see colorful images, you can see. So basic understanding has to be there. We are not going to ask you any tough and deep questions. And then the staining techniques. All staining techniques, mostly you should know about hematoxylin and eosin. That is very important, because we use that hematoxylin and eosin most often, right, in our day-to-day practice. So hematoxylin is a basic stain, so it will stain the acidic structures and it will appear blue. Eosin is a acidic stain, it will stain basic structures and it will appear pink. This much if you know, more than enough. And other stains, you should know the names of the other stain, which part they stain, and what is its application, where it is used. Every stain, what it goes and stains, which part of the cell it goes and stain, and where it is used. If you know this much, it is more than enough. So don't go very deep, read very superficial, very easy questions. I am going to ask you whenever there is exam. So from this theory class, because I know it is tough and you are new for this. So please don't worry, and very superficial. I will upload you this PowerPoint. Read it. Today you read because today I have taught you, and discuss with your friends. Form small groups of 4 to 5 people. Discuss with your friends about the topic, right? And then very simple easy questions will ask, and this will be uploaded in Blackboard. You can download it. So please don't worry. Yes, we are done for the day, and 2 o'clock now I will teach you about microscope, about compound microscope, parts of the microscope. I will show you now at 2 o'clock. So 10 minutes break you have. Correctly join at 2 o'clock. Okay, 10 minutes break. Thank you so much. See you at 2 o'clock, 10 minutes, after 10 minutes. Thank you.